When one of Sri Ramakrishna's devotees and M, the recorder of gospel, to show him his diary, M refused, saying, I am writing it for myself, not for others. Whenever he would get a little extra time during his work as a teacher, he would retire to a solitary room on the roof to read his diary and reflect and meditate on the words of the Master. Once speaking of the origin of the gospel, M said, I was involved in worldly activities, bound to my work, and could not visit Sri Ramakrishna whenever I wished. Therefore, I used to note down his words in order to think about them in the intervals between my visits so that the impressions made on my mind might not be overlaid by the stress of worldly work and responsibilities. It was thus for my own benefit that I first made the notes so that I might realize his teachings more perfectly. Later, his notes in the diary has came out as Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Sometimes M has to struggle to make his account accurate. Once he said, I had to wait for a word of the Master to come to mind as a Chataka bird waits for a drop of rainwater to fall. The scriptures will reiterate the same truth in different ways so that it penetrates into us. We find that some ideas are repeated several times in the Gospel. M was once asked to remove some of the repetitions from the Gospel, but he replied, I cannot do that. Sri Ramakrishna told the same parable to different people. If I remove a particular section, the train of conversation will be broken. Moreover, you won't be able to see. Sometimes the brilliance of a diamond is enhanced by the changing its setting. Putting it on a dusty ground gives one effect, and putting it on a green lawn will give another. But putting it in a blue velvet casket will give the most brilliant effect of all. The same is true of the words in the Gospel. Thank you.
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं विगृह्णन्ति ते भूरिता जनाः. O Lord, your words, like sweet nectar, refresh the afflicted. Your words, which poets have sung in verses, vanquish the sins of the worldly. Blessed are they who hear of you, and blessed indeed are they who speak of you. How great is their reward. Today we are starting a new chapter, chapter 38 of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. It's 11th March 1885 with the devotees in Calcutta. On the morning of Wednesday, 11th March, Sri Ramakrishna and some of his disciples visited Balaram Bose's house. Balaram was indeed blessed among the household disciples of the Master. Sri Ramakrishna often described him as a Rasadar or supplier of stores, appointed by the Divine Mother to take care of his physical needs. Balaram's house in Calcutta had been sanctified many times by the Master's presence. There, he frequently lost himself in samadhi, dancing, singing, or talking about God. Those were the Master's disciples and devotees who could not go to Dakshineshwar, visited him there and received his instruction. He often asked Balaram to invite young disciples such as Raghal, Bhavanath, and Narendra to his house, saying, these pure souls are the veritable manifestations of God. To feed them is to feed God himself. They are born with special divine attributes. By serving them, you will be serving God. And so it happened that whenever the master was at Balaram's house, the devotees would gather there. It was the master's chief vineyard in Calcutta. It was here that the devotees came to know each other intimately. Sri Ramakrishna visited Balaram so many times, and this is the only place in Calcutta where Sri Ramakrishna would take meal. Sri Ramakrishna used to say Balaram's food is pure. They have the worship of Lord Jagannath, one form of Vishnu, and so it is prasad on the food. And the whole family was devoted to Sri Ramakrishna, not just Balaram. The whole family was devoted. And Balaram kept a record of how many times Sri Ramakrishna has visited. Sri Ramakrishna has visited 100 times. His house, that's the only place in Calcutta where Sri Ramakrishna visited so many times, 100 times. And he would, many of the devotees with their work, family circumstances, cannot go to Dakshineswar to meet him. So when Sri Ramakrishna came to Calcutta, they will come to visit at Balaram's house. Sri Ramakrishna says, if you take one step toward God, God will come 99 steps towards you. Literally, you can see it. Devotees can't go often to Dakshineswar. They cannot afford the carriage fare. They are not rich people. They are all middle class, lower middle class. So what does he do? He comes here. He comes to Calcutta and spend the day there. And then everybody will be informed, all those people, and they, as and when they can, during the day they come. And then Balaram will feed them. They'll be singing, dancing, whole, spiritual vibrations will be palpable, people whoever goes there. And Sri Ramakrishna again he often asked Balaram to invite young disciples such as Rakhal, Bhavanath, and Narendra to his house, saying, these pure souls are veritable manifestations of God. They are so pure, these young disciples. So to feed them is just like feeding God. Serving them is serving God himself. So he encouraged Balaram to invite these young disciples, not all of them, but these special young disciples, the Narendra, Rakhal, Bhavanath, and others. And later you can see Balaram passed away. When after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, Balaram passed away when in 87, could be 87, 1887 or 1888. And then Balaram's son, his name was Ramakrishna Babu. Ramakrishna Bose, he used to invite all the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna whenever they came to Calcutta to spend there. And you can see later in the life of Swami Brahmananda, he spent a lot of time. And if anybody falls sick, they come to Calcutta. And where do they stay in Calcutta? In Balaram's house. And Balaram will organize for the treatment, diet, everything. Not Balaram, his son. Now his house is under the Ramakrishna Mission. It's one of the sacred spots when we go to visit all the places associated with Sri Ramakrishna. Balaram's house is one of the main places that we see outside in Calcutta. It was here that the devotees came to know each other intimately. So because they all come together, they spend the whole day there, so they come to know each other. Because they cannot go to Dakshineswar all the time, but they meet in Balaram's house. M taught in a school in the neighborhood. M, the recorder of gospel that we just now heard about Gayatriprana saying, he was a teacher. He was the principal of a school. And his school was close by. So often he used to come when Sri Ramakrishna came, even on a working day, During the leisure time, he will come and see Sri Ramakrishna for a short time. And when he found any of his young students interested in spiritual life, he used to take them to Sri Ramakrishna. But he can't take them to Dakshinesha often. The parents will object or children won't have time. So when he comes to Calcutta, he used to bring them. He often brought his young students to visit the master at Balaram's house. On this day, having learned of Sri Ramakrishna's arrival, M went there at noon during the recess hour of the school. He found the master resting in the drawing room after his midday meal. Several young boys were in the room. They already came to know. We can see in the one life of one of the young disciples, Sharada Prasanna. Sri Ramakrishna asked, "Why didn't you come and visit me?" "Nobody tells me. Nobody has told me." Then Sri Ramakrishna tells one of them, "Make a list of all the boys to whom you should inform." So the several young boys were in the room. M prostrated himself before the master and sat by his side. Master tenderly, "How could you come now? Have you no schoolwork?" M, "I have come directly from school. Just now I have no important work to do." A devotee, "No, sir, he is playing Tron today." See, the boys are running away from school without missing the class, and now the principal also is missing the school. M said to himself, "Alas, it is indeed as if some invisible power had drawn me here." Master, looking a little thoughtful, asked M to come near. He said, "Please wring out my wet towel and put my coat in the sun." Then he continued, "My legs and feet ache. Please rub them gently." See, he has, in between the school hours, he has come, Sri Ramakrishna giving him an opportunity to serve him. Because he is so keen, he's so earnest in his spiritual practice, Sri Ramakrishna is giving an opportunity. Bring out my towel, put my coat in the sun, and rub my feet a little. M felt very happy to be given the privilege of rendering these services to the master. Sri Ramakrishna said to M, "Can you tell me why I have been feeling like this the past few days? It is impossible for me to touch any metal. When I touch a metal cup, I feel as if I had been stung by a hornfish. There was an excruciating pain all over my arm. But I must use a brass water jar, so I tried to carry it after covering it with my towel. But the moment I touched the jar, I felt the same acute pain in my arm. It was an unbearable pain. At last I prayed to the Divine Mother, 'Oh Mother, I shall never do it again. Please forgive me this time.'" Sri Ramakrishna's renunciation is complete, 100%. Not just mental renunciation, physical renunciation also. He has given up all attachment to gold. Sitting on the bank of the Ganges, he carrying coin in one hand and mud in the other. He said, both are same, and threw it in the Ganga. Now that he has renounced. Now coin, metal can be anything. He can't touch any metal. So he can't drink water from a metal cup, metal glass. They used to have a bronze glass to drink water. No, he could not use that. They used to bring glass made from stone. Now water jar is made of brass. He can't carry it, hold it. He tried covering it with towel. No, even then he can't touch it. Like last week we said how Narendra tried to test him, putting it, it's too much, saying, "Oh, you can't touch metal, it gives you pain." We won't believe it, how skeptics, exaggeration. So Narendra wanted to test. He put a coin, when Sri Ramakrishna was not in the room, he put a coin under the mattress. And Sri Ramakrishna came back to the room, sat on the mattress and jumped up, as though he was stung by a scorpion or some pain, something. So he asked his attendants to look. They took the sheet off, pull up, remove the pillow, then the mattress. And they found the coin. And Narendra, after putting the coin, he went outside and was walking on the veranda, keeping an eye on the room because he could see through the window, he could see the room. And Sri Ramakrishna saw Narendra and he understood who had put the coin there to test. The master and M were thus talking about a young devotee when someone reminded M of his school. Master, what's the time now? Devotee, it's 10 minutes to 1. Master to M, you had better go now. It's getting late for you. You have left your duties. After school hours, M returned to Balaram's house and found the master sitting in the drawing room, surrounded by his devotees and disciples. Straight away after school, he's back here. in the beginning of the gospel, when he came for the third time, Sri Ramakrishna was sitting with the devotees and talking, and as soon as he saw Yam, he says, there he comes again. And then he gives what's that, simile. A man fed a peacock with opium at 4 o'clock. 2 days. The third day, the peacock turned up at 4 o'clock because it has got the addiction. Then Yam says, Yam thought himself, it's a very apt example, simile. I feel as though I'm being drawn here. Here, straight away from school, he has come. No, not a year of going home, no. From school, he is back here. He's surrounded by his devotees and disciples. Among them were Girish, Suresh, Balaram, Latu, and Chunilal. The master's face was beaming with a sweet smile, which was reflected on the happy faces of those in the room. M was asked to take a seat by the master's side. Master to Girish, you had better argue this point with Narendra and see what he has to say. Narendra did not believe in God taking a human form, in God's incarnation, but Girish had 100% faith. And Sri Ramakrishna used to say Girish's faith is not 100%, 125%, he used to say. He has great faith. And both could argue very well. Both are very good in argument. Narendra did not believe in any being a follower of Brahma Samaj. He didn't even believe in God with forms. And not to speak of God taking a human form. And whereas Girish had full faith. And Sri Ramakrishna used to make them argue. First, sometimes you can see you argue in English, I would like to hear. You wouldn't understand anything, but they will speak in their language only, but argument went on and on. You had better argue this point with Narendra and see what he says, what he has to say. Girish, Narendra says that God is infinite. We cannot even so much as say that things or persons we perceive are parts of God. How can infinity have parts? It cannot. So Narendra is what this is Narendra's attitude. Narendra says God is infinite. We cannot even say so much as say that things or person we perceive are parts of God. How can infinity have parts? It cannot. God is infinite. Infinity cannot have parts. The opening piece chant in the Isha Upanishad, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. That is infinite, this is infinite. If you remove infinite from the infinite, infinite remains. That's pure mathematics. Mathematics says that you take infinity from infinity, infinity remains. So how can infinite have parts? So Narendra's argument is this, infinite, God is infinite. Everybody agrees to that. God is infinite. How can then we say that what we see are forms of God or parts of God? Infinity cannot have parts. The world is also, then Sri Ramakrishna's argument comes. The infinite, the manifested world is the effect that has come from the infinite cause. God, the infinite cause, From that, the manifested universe has come. So if you take from infinity, infinity remains. So the world is also infinite. So Sri Ramakrishna says, however great and infinite God may be, his essence can and does manifest itself through man by his mere will. So Sri Ramakrishna is pointing out the fault of Narendra's argument. Yes, God is infinite. He have agreed to that. But his essence can and does manifest itself through man by his mere will. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying definitely it's not just quoting scriptures. This is direct realization. God manifests through man by his mere will. How God, the infinite, takes a human form is very difficult. That is one of the controversies or arguments that going on among the philosophers. How can the infinite take a human form? How can the infinite God take a human form, limited by the body, mind, psychophysical system? How can the infinite be contained in a small human being? So Sri Ramakrishna says, yes, God is infinite, but his essence can and does manifest itself through his mere will. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Ajobisan avveyatma bhutanam ishwarobisan pragritim swam athishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. I am unborn. Ajobi, aja, unborn. Avveyatma, imperishable, cannot have any parts, cannot be destroyed. Still, Prakritim Swam Athishtayam, holding on to my Prakriti, I create myself. His Prakriti, the Lord's Prakriti, helps him to take manifest it in a human form. Again, this is in 4th chapter, and again in the 9th chapter, Shri Krishna says, Mayadhyakshana Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. By my mere presence, Prakriti brings out the whole universe. The Lord is not taking part in any activity. He is the inactive witness. But by his mere presence, the Prakriti does everything. Prakriti, the Lord's power, brings out the whole universe. We all say God is omnipotent. God is all powerful. But at the same time, we say God cannot manifest himself a human being. If God is all powerful, what is impossible for him? Our argument is not correct. One side we say God is all powerful, omnipotent, and then we say God cannot take a human. How can the infinite take a human form? Then God is not omnipotent. How can both go together? God's incarnation as a man cannot be explained by analogy. It's very hard to explain how God takes a human form. We compare and try to explain through different means. But Sri Ramakrishna says, God taking a human form cannot be explained through analogy. One must feel it for oneself and realize it by direct perception. We are all saying it's only words. Have you realized God taking human form? No. Ours is only words. It cannot be explained properly. One has to realize it. Feel it for oneself and realize it by direct perception. An analogy can give us only a little glimpse. By touching the horns, legs, or tail of a cow, we in fact touch the cow herself. But for us, the essential thing about the cow is her milk, which comes through the udder. The divine incarnation is like the udder. God incarnates himself as man from time to time in order to teach people devotion and divine love. See, if you touch any part of the cow, we can say the legs, tail, horns, we have touched the cow. But the milk comes through the udder. Divine incarnation is the udder. We cannot understand or approach the infinite. How can infinite is formless, attributeless entity which is beyond our mind? How can we understand with our mind? No. The Upanishad says it's beyond speech and mind. So how it's all we can, but in the cow, as far as the cow, the important thing is milk, and milk comes through udder. The same way, the infinite God takes a human form, and that is incarnation. God incarnates himself as man from time to time in order to teach people devotion and divine love. What is the point of taking a human form? Sri Krishna says in the Gita, whenever virtue subsides and evil the propensities increase, I take a human form to bring back and re-establish the right dharma, righteousness. So Sri Ramakrishna says to teach people devotion and divine love. If God does not teach, how can people? Who can teach us? We are all engrossed in the world. So God takes a human form and try to teach us how to love God. Girish, Narendra says, is it ever possible to know all of God? He is infinite. Narendra is not there here at present. So Girish had the argument earlier debate, and so he is giving Narendra's viewpoints, what Narendra said. Narendra says, is it ever possible to know all of God? He is infinite. How can we know infinite? Master to Girish, who can comprehend everything about God? It is not given to man to know any aspect of God, great or small. And what need is there to know everything about God? It is enough if you only realize Him. And we see God Himself if we but see His incarnation. Suppose a man goes to the Ganges and touches its water. He will then say, yes, I have seen and touched the Ganges. To say this, it is not necessary for him to touch the whole length of the river from Haridwar to Ganga Sagar. So, Narendra's argument, is it possible to know God? It's infinite. Sri Ramakrishna agrees with that. Yes. Who can comprehend everything about God? Not only everything, it's not given to man to know any aspect of God, great or small. We are not able to know. He is infinite. And what is the need there? And what need is there to know everything about God? In another place he says, if one bottle of wine is enough to intoxicate me, what is the need to know how many gallons of wine is there in the tavern? There is no need. One bottle is enough for me. Whatever we need, we have to know God. That's all, realize God. We don't have to know everything about God. And when we say, if anybody say, I know about God, it's only an idea of God, not realization. Realize God. It is enough if we only realize Him. Knowing about God, we know all this. We read the scriptures, we can quote the scriptures, the Upanishad, the Brahma Sutras, Gita, everything. This is Brahman, all that it's all ideas. Have you realized? If we have realized, then we become silent. As in the story that Sri Ramakrishna says, a father sent his two sons to the teacher's home, and in the olden time they go to Gurukula. And after a long time, they usually spend 12 years there. The two grown up there, the two young men came back, and the father asked, so you have learned everything the teacher has taught? Have you got the knowledge of Brahman? Did you teach about Brahman? Yes, he asked the eldest son, and he gave a big lecture about Brahman, what Brahman is and everything. And then he asked, that's very good, you know everything about Brahman. He asked the younger one, what do you say about Brahman? The young one Younger one kept quiet. Then the father said, yes, you have understood a little of Brahman, because what Brahman is cannot be explained, cannot be said, spoken. Because it's not an object. We can speak about objects. How can you speak about the eternal subject? We cannot speak about it. Whatever we say is only idea of Brahman, our idea of Brahman, not even the real idea, maybe our idea of Brahman. It's not Brahman. It is enough if you only realize Him. But how are we to realize God? How are we to see God? Then Sri Ramakrishna says, and we see God Himself if we but see His incarnation. God is everywhere. We say the whole world is perverted by God. Isha Vasimidam Sarvam. The whole universe is perverted by the Lord. But we are seeing all different things. Sri Ramakrishna says, seeing the incarnation is same as seeing God. Suppose a person goes to the Ganges and touches its water. He will then say, yes, I have seen and touched the Ganges. To say this, it is not necessary for him to touch the whole length of the river from Haridwar to Ganga Sagar. Haridwar, Ganges reaches the plains. Before that, it is in the Himalayas, tumbling through the rocks. But once it comes to Haridwar, it's on the plain land, foothills, and then going straight to the ocean, Bay of Bengal. In Ganga Sagar, it falls in the Bay of Bengal. You don't have to go through the whole length to say that I have seen and touched. Any place you touch, you have touched the river. Any place you touch, anything if you realize it is God, that's God. But in incarnation, you get a better idea. And as Sri Ramakrishna says, if we are seeing God Himself, if we see His incarnation. The same idea was given by Jesus. He says, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. Seeing incarnation is seeing God as same as seeing God Himself. Sri Ramakrishna continues, if I touch your feet, surely it's the same as touching you. Any part of the body you touch, you are touching me. If I touch your feet, it's same as touching you. If a person goes to the ocean and touches but a little of its water, he has surely touched the ocean itself. Fire as an element exists in all things, but in wood it is present to a greater degree. Fire is present everywhere, element. The 5 elements, air, fire, water, earth, and space, are present everywhere. The whole universe is made up of these 5 elements. So fire is everywhere. Here, everywhere is fire is there. But in the wood, it's a greater manifestation because wood can catch fire quickly. Fire can manifest in the wood in a better way. Girish, I am looking for fire. Naturally, I want to go to a place where I can get it. That's Girish's way of explaining. He wants to realize God. So he is going to get the easiest way where easily he can get, that is incarnation of God. Because Girish had a firm idea that Sri Ramakrishna was incarnation. He used to tell everybody. That's why towards the end, when Sri Ramakrishna was seriously ill in Kausipur garden, on the 1st of January, Sri Ramakrishna, when he came out to the garden and walking on the garden path, he sees Girish sitting there and asks Girish, what have you seen that you tell everybody, speak so much about me, that he is an incarnation? And Girish is not somebody to be taken by surprise. He says straight away, what can I speak of him about whom Vyasa and Valmiki failed to express properly? Vyasa in the Mahabharata, Bhagavata, all try to express the glory of God as Krishna. And Valmiki in Ramayana tried to express about Sri Rama. So he's both they could not fail, they could not express completely enough, talk enough about God, then how can I say about him? So what does it mean? I'm accepting you as God, as incarnation of God. So that's why he's saying, I'm looking for fire. Naturally, I want to go to a place where I can get it. So God is present everywhere, but his greater presence, manifestation is in human beings. If there is nothing but God, nothing but Brahman, everything, animate, inanimate, everything is nothing but God. But in living beings, the greater manifestation is there. And among the living beings, still greater manifestation in human beings. And among human beings, why there's so much of difference? Some people are good, some people are evil. Just the difference in the manifestation. Manifestation of the divinity. And greatest manifestation is an incarnation. There is nothing there. In ordinary people like us, there's a lot of impurities are there. Ignorance is there, which is covering the manifestation. It's not able to, the divine is not able to come out. But in incarnation, there is no impurity, no ignorance. They're able to manifest it to the full extent. So when we realize or move to an incarnation or go to the presence of incarnation, we can feel the presence of God in a better way. Master smiling. Yes, fire as an element is present more in wood than in any other object. If you seek God, then seek him in man. He manifests himself more in man than in any other thing. If you want to realize God, look for God in human beings. Because there is greatest manifestation of God in human beings than all the other living beings. Then he says, if you see a man endowed with ecstatic love, overflowing with prema, mad after God, intoxicated with his love, then know for certain that God has incarnated himself through that man. How are we to know that a certain particular person is an incarnation of God or God has incarnated through that person? These are some of the signs that Sri Ramakrishna has given. If you see a person endowed with ecstatic love, overflowing with prema, mad after God, intoxicated with his love, then know for certain that God has incarnated himself through that man. Ordinary people, now we can see so many people, so many gurus are there, so many incarnations of God are there. But these are some of the testing points. Test with this. Simply just because 100 people, 1,000 people, followers say that so and so, my teacher is an incarnation, God has taken a human form. No, don't believe. Test. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says. These are some of the signs. Then know for certain that God has incarnated himself through that man. The Bhagavad Gita says the same thing. Whatever object endowed with majesty, possessed of prosperity, or is energetic, know for certain that each of them has a part of my power as its source. If you see excellent power, majesty, prosperity, then Shri Krishna says, a part of me has manifested in that, in any field. And then he further says, wherever there is grace, beauty, power, prosperity, know for certain I'm there. This all comes in the 10th chapter. when Shri Krishna is describing the divine glories. After describing the whole thing, along his description he says, gives, and then in the end he says, what's the use of knowing all these things? Know that wherever there is greater manifestation of majesty, prosperity, energy, know for certain. It is definitely, he's saying, know for certain that there's a greater manifestation of me. To M. There is no doubt that God exists in all things, but the manifestation of his power are different in different beings. The greatest manifestation of his power is through an incarnation. God is present everywhere. He is in everything, but his manifestation is different, and greatest manifestation is through an incarnation. Again, in some incarnation, there is complete manifestation of God's power. It is the Shakti, the power of God, that is born as an incarnation. The greatest manifestation of his power is through an incarnation. So, depending upon the need of the time, how much is manifested. We say in the epics, we have these 10 epics, 10 incarnation of God. Starting from the fish, 10 incarnation. There's only very limited manifestation. But if you look through them, you can see manifestations becoming greater and greater and greater. And then greatest manifestation you see in Krishna and Rama. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna says, in some incarnation, there's a complete manifestation of God's power. And it is God's power that is incarnated as a human being. It is the Shakti, the power of God, that is born as an incarnation. When we say Shakti, usually we say Shakti for goddesses. No, it's not that. Power of God. And God and his power are not different. How can you distinguish between a person and his or her power? It goes with that. They cannot be distinguished. They cannot be separated. That is why Sri Ramakrishna, when he speaks about Brahman and Shakti, or Brahman and Kali, he says they are one and the same. The power and possessor of power cannot be separated. How can we say that you and your power are different? Can you separate them? One and it goes together. But when engaged in the acts of creation, preservation, and destruction, we call it the power, because it's through the power that these things happen. When not engaged in them, we call God inactive. So incarnation of God comes to the power of God. Girish. Narendra says that God is beyond our words and thought. God is beyond thought and word. That's what the Upanishad says. Yes, God. That's why we are not able to describe God, because he is beyond thought and word. Beyond thought means beyond mind. Mind does not go there. Mind comes back, unable to reach. That's what the Upanishad says. But then Sri Ramakrishna says, no, Master, that is not altogether true. What Narendra's argument that God is beyond word and thought, no, that's not altogether true. He is no doubt unknowable by the ordinary mind. We cannot know God by the ordinary mind, but he can indeed be known by the pure mind. The mind and intellect become pure the moment they are free from attachment to woman and both. The pure mind and pure intellect are one and the same. God is known by the pure mind. Didn't the sages and seers of olden times see God? They realized the all-pervading consciousness by means of their inner consciousness. So Narendra's argument is that God is beyond thought and word. Sri Ramakrishna says that's not altogether true. To a certain extent, it is true. For ordinary people, it is true. God is beyond thought and word. But he can be known by the pure mind. What do you mean by pure mind? Do we say that our minds are impure? When we say, we don't harbor any evil thoughts. Now our mind, no, there is a lot of impurity. We have associated ourselves. What does our mind think? I am the body. Then as soon as I say I, mind associate with the body-mind system. So that is the impurity. All the qualities that attribute, if you can remove it, then the mind becomes pure. And then what remains? Nothing, God. If you remove all the superimpositions on the mind, I'm the mind, I am the body, I am so and so, I live in this place, I'm born in this play and time. All those, they're all superimpositions. You remove one by one all that, then what remains? Nothing. What remains, what is. That's all, which we cannot say. And that's God. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, he can be realized through the pure mind. That purity is quite far from where we are at present. I wouldn't say is unachievable. No, that's the aim, to reach that purity. Their mind and intellects become pure the moment they are free from attachment to woman and gold. Free from attachment, free from the idea of I and mine, the mind becomes pure. It is the idea of I and mine, attachment. Then with the idea of I and mine comes attachment to everything associated with that. When you are free from that, the mind becomes pure. And then what remains? Brahman or Atman. And the knower of Atman becomes, knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. If nothing else is there, becomes that consciousness. The pure mind and the pure intellect are one and the same. God is known by the pure mind. Didn't the sages and seers of olden times see God? All the different forms of God that we have are the ideas that the sages in their meditation, in their realization had got. Visualizations. So that's why Ramakrishna says, didn't the sages and seers of olden times see God? They realized the all-pervading consciousness by means of the inner consciousness. Girish, with a smile. I defeated Narendra in the argument. Girish is so happy. I defeated Narendra. Master, oh no. No, Sri Ramakrishna is not going to accept that Narendra was defeated. Oh no, he said to me, when Girish Ghosh has so much faith in God's incarnation as man, what can I say to him? It's not proper to meddle with such faiths. That's what Sri Krishna says. Those who are highly intelligent with knowledge should not disturb the other people, should not disturb the people with less knowledge. Narendra is what Sri Ramakrishna says, as though walking with the unsheathed sword of knowledge. But Girish has got 100%, 125% faith. So Narendra recognizes that. It's not proper to meddle with such faith. But Sri Ramakrishna enjoys putting Narendra in such situation so that his viewpoint expands. There's another incident when Aghoramani Devi, who had vision of baby Krishna, child Krishna. Actually, she just not just a vision. Krishna as a toddler, talked with her, played with her. When she's sitting for her japa, repeating the name, she pulled the rosary and demands that I want butter, I'm hungry, I want to sleep. No. Then she made him, she's an old widow sleeping in a hut close to associated with a temple. She doesn't have a proper bed, just a mat and a hard pillow. This is too hard, I can't sleep. So he's demanding. It's a child, literally. So, and she came to Sri Ramakrishna and told all that. Then when Narendra came, Sri Ramakrishna asked her to repeat all this to Narendra. And the lady, he's a young man studying in the university, intelligent person. I'm a foolish old woman, I don't know anything. Then she was still repeating and telling her experiences. And now and then she will ask, my child, is it true or just my imagination? Narendra was so moved that he had to keep on saying, no, mother, it's all true. It's all true. So Sri Ramakrishna put through these things, he was expanding Narendra's point of view because he's going to be a world teacher. He cannot be confined to one path of knowledge. He has to broaden his path to accommodate all people. That's why Sri Ramakrishna putting him into debate with Girish here. And later you can see another place. One of Ramchandra Datta says, what's the use of all these arguments, debate? Sri Ramakrishna said, no, it has got meaning. It has to be done. There is a purpose. He does every action with a deep meaning or purpose. He doesn't do anything. Even the little things, you think there is some meaning behind it. Something to teach somebody.
So we will be going into our summer recess soon. From next Sunday, we'll have a simpler program. It'll be the spiritual reading and silent meditation. The nuns will be here, and you're welcome to join them from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. And this coming week, we'll have the final yoga class for the year on Thursday. The spiritual evening, well, the Bhagavad Gita discussion will be on this coming Friday. And 2 weeks after that, we'll have another Friday night discussion, which will conclude for the year. So what will happen is we'll be sharing a December and January program. That'll be in the next weekly email we send out. So you'll get a full program. We've got the celebrations of Christmas Eve, Holy Mother's birthday, Swami Vivekananda's birthday, Kalpataru Day. All of them are coming up over December, January, so there will still be some special events happening. And of course, on every Sunday, apart from the celebrations, the nuns will be here for the spiritual reading and silent meditation. And speaking of meditation, we'll conclude now with a guided meditation, which I'll conduct.